and tweet it
Or is
out.
that A, be quiet?
Channel uncharted. Link.
Okay.
Okay. It's a very complicated link. He can't link it.
Link to Twitch.tv.
Or he could do that.
Channel uncharted. Go it is release stream.
Okay.
Yeah, what about Insomniac though? He's still derping out.
I don't know. We'll wait a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. His 4G connection can't handle it. Or 3G.
Question. Is there any benefit to having Longhorn on the corner?
I
What
believe
corner?
no. The weapon is 90, right?
Once again, not sure. I don't like to check the actual numbers because then I have too much proof to back my opinions
Let me see real quick.
or contradict them.
The weapon is 90.
Yes, weapon is 90.
Yeah.
No idea what Ford armor is.
I believe it's like 80, and it's like minus 60 on corner, so it's 20. I forget exactly though.
It sounds like a lot of work because you also have to factor in that Gemini would be shooting faster. You
Made
can do
Lyra
that.
Right.
happy. And who is Banana Snail? He's on everyone's friends list. I don't know what it's a name change from.
Okay, I gotta check my
Who?
friends list. Oh shit.
Banana Snail.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Alright.
Yeah, he's on my friends list too. I just don't know who the hell it is. No idea,
Exactly.
no clue.
I would
He
get to
always
the
says
bottom.
hi to me. I don't know who he is either.
He says hi to everybody. I don't think it's Spectrums. Who would it be?
Aw. He's not even on my list. I'm gonna cry.
Okay, hey, I spam my link in chat, in global chat. You guys proud of me?
Tito.
Should I shut up now?
I will mute you when...
Oh. I did not get an email notification from your channel.
A little time to process, you know? I should have probably started at like 5:50 instead of 6.
Why? Oh, yeah, you know, I would sit on and all that.
No, it's after 9 for some of us other people.
Yeah, well. I'm afraid to play music because I feel like my stream's gonna be muted, you know?
I've brought Insomniac back Ed.
Thanks for forgetting about me.
Why?
No problem, bro.
We love to forget. Man, Twitch dashboard is terrible. Hey, insane. So yeah, Twitch dashboard is very bad. It says, oh, never mind. Now it says I'm online. What the freak? Okay. There's too many people in here. I have to expand the thing.
Hey, I'm at the bottom. Yeah, I'm relevant.
Uncharted's cut off
Look how
because his
many
name starts
friends
with U.
you've made in 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on. Oh my god, it's too big. I can't. What am I supposed to do? I have to cut it up.
You could start being a bully and kicking people out.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
That's
just
exactly
a
what I
lot.
was thinking.
You.
Okay,
I
okay.
could come back in like 20 minutes and just stay muted for now.
No, I got it. I figured it out. I have to move stuff around though. There we go. No more people, damn it! Oh, I have to
It's
fix it on...
oh my god. Why do you have it all the way to the right?
I have to fix it on 2 layouts. Oh my god.
Make it look party.
I feel important because I have a picture.
It's good. I'm glad to know that's all you need to feel validated and important.
Not only that, I'm second.
You're second. Yeah, well.
Your right hand. Even
Okay.
Carbon is trolling you.
I'm sorry?
Oh, Insane and Brandon are both in here.
Oh, I see. Yeah, see, God. And Uncharted is cut off once again. I'm sorry, Uncharted, you don't exist right now.
That's right.
I just can't. I can't handle it. Okay.
It's irrelevant.
So there are 11 people in Mumble, or not in Mumble, on the stream right now, strangely enough. So what I'm going to do is mute all of today we are going to have 4 panelists, including myself. I guess 3 panelists and a moderator, I guess. So what we're going to do is just go around, have each panelist introduce themselves, and what we're going to do is have them just go over their brief AirMech history and their maining history, meaning AirMech main, like the mech main. So, FriskyCow, why don't you go ahead?
Yo. Oh, well, let's see, my join date is June, 2012, something like that. Anyway, I play a ton of Striker, I play a fair amount of Bomber, and recently I've picked up Osprey and Helix, and they are treating me well. I am the AirMech hipster, and if something is really popular, I don't like to use it. If something's really broken, I don't like to use it. So yeah.
Boo, Eagle says. Okay.
Are you
Tipsy?
not entertained?
I am not. Anyways, so, Tipsy, why don't you go ahead?
Ah, that's a good question. I don't know how long I've been here. Feels like I've been here since the beginning, but right before White just went out of alpha. So I guess what, 2 years ago was that?
Something like that.
Yeah, something. I used to main was it Strike when I first started. When Hog came out, I became a big Hog player. Then when Paladin came out, I became a big Paladin player. So now I'm just a Hog Paladin. I love Hog Paladin. So much offense, so much defense.
Yeah, that's actually what I was familiar with you when I started playing. It was you and Bistria killing the whole team on my side with hogs, and it was not fun.
Ah, yes. Good
Anyways.
times, good times.
Good times for you. Okay, so Insomniac joining us from not exactly his home computer, but could you go over a quick introduction and your mech maining history?
Alright, I've been playing for about 2 years. I mostly main Saucer. I mained Saucer through the Friday Night Flights PvP faction seasons, and since then I've messed with pretty much every single mech, and I've had a lot of fun with Neo, and I like odd tactics, so I enjoy the fast mechs and maxing out odd stats.
And are you
Plus
currently...
500% missile shoot down.
Which is only like plus 50% chance or something like that, because it's alpha base chance. Anywho. Do you main Saucer still, Insomniac? Or
Currently what?
I'm asking if you still currently main Saucer?
Oh yes, I enjoy the Saucer. It's been buffed over time due to mostly my complaints, I think. But Yeah, it's a powerful mech. It has a lot of different utilities, and that's what I enjoy most about it, being able to teleport units across the map and use odd AoE debuff stats and stuff like that that people aren't used to.
Death ray that never runs out of energy, things like that.
Yeah.
Well,
or
that's
just being a dick overall.
well, that the death
That's
ray
what-
thing is not. It's a recent problem for the most part, relatively.
To go Osprey, Saucer, and have fun with a death ray. That's my recommendation.
It's pretty terrible and awesome. Insomniac.
Pretty sure that's what was used in the
Insomniac.
last tournament, right?
Yeah, Turk and no, I remember in the double kill tournament, Turk and Nuclear were doing that, but not the last one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I am hopefully the rest of you know who I am. I am I guess the primary AirMech caster for the game right now. I accept a lot of replays and talk while I watch the game. I started playing in July of 2012, so a little over 2 years for me as well. I started out maining Striker just because that's the default mech. I eventually switched to Saucer because I got owned by a Saucer one time in 3v3, and I was like, that's why he was doing so well, because he's in a Saucer. So I went and I mained Saucer for the first couple of months of my newbie life. I then switched to Helix, then Neo, then Hog, and I've been back and forth between those 4 mechs, minus Neo as much in the recent months of play. My play has been very on and off due to the time I spend doing other AirMech related things, but I'm trying to get back and actually playing the game more, and it's been fun, more fun than but I remember it being when I stopped playing and sucked a lot. Anyway,
Playing
So-
is better than not playing for
Playing-
a game? Really?
Shut-
You don't say.
Shut. Okay. Anyway, we will start off with our first topic, which is, I mean, if this pretty much becomes a weekly show, would be a weekly topic, or every show, it would start out with, ideally, the current state of the game. So, gentlemen, we will have a quick overview of the current state of the game, which mechs, units, and parts are overused and which are underused, which mechanics issues particularly plague the game as of right now, and what units, openings, and strategies have been quite popular. We'll start off with FriskyCow.
Oh man, you should not have started with me, because I could go on for an hour right now.
Try to
Well,
keep it to a couple minutes.
okay, so Hog is getting really, really popular. I see a lot of Hog, I see a lot of Lexi going on. I feel like, Hog in general is really good right now, just because it's got that really high firepower, that really high armor, and then especially with the map modes now, where you can pick small maps like Twin Peaks or Duel or something, where you can focus fire people over their outposts. It makes it a little more stronger. They've had the recent buff to turn speed while firing, which really only benefits the Hog.
Oh yes. Yeah, that screwed over the Saucer too.
Sort of, yeah.
So
One of the biggest
the Saucer's
advantages.
only subtle advantage was it doesn't have to turn while it's firing; it can just instantly turn. So, mechs that are underpowered and underused right now. Paladin got a big nerf, but you still see a lot of it. You don't see really any Ospreys. You only see Neos and 3v3s. Helix is still in good. So I mean, Bomber, Helix, and Hog are like the main ones. You're just going unit killing, player killing mechs. Just revolving your playstyle around people not being able to kill you and deal with your harassment.
Now I'm not sure if it's just me, but for some reason, Seekers don't seem to bother me as Hog.
Well,
As
Seekers
much.
just got a couple big nerfs. Missile shoot down chance just got really increased. So now, as a Lexi striker right now, just shooting at Seeker missiles, I can shoot all of the missiles down from a single volley. When before, I'm flying backwards shooting. I can take down one missile. Now I can actually take down the whole volley. I think that's had a huge buff. Just last patch or the patch before it, just to general missile shoot down. Aegis still suck, but mech shoot down's actually a lot better. Seekers will no longer kill you. Now it might take a little bit more.
I gotta correct you there for a second. The Aegis actually got a I think it got a silent buff recently. I don't think anyone's noticed yet.
Oh, it actually has the double fire rate on a socket, right? And also slight buff in terms of missile shoot down.
It's
I
a
believe
shame
so.
that Flacker's on the rise, though. You can't really see the Aegis shine because there's not that many missiles in a game, and heavens knows no one's going to Bucky.
That would be natural progression. You know, one unit starts working, let's move on to the next unit.
In the whole, like, oh, let's build artillery and jammers meta, I mean, Buckies were kind of fun for me, even though they're so fragile, just because Buckies don't get jammed. But, you know, the units that are being abused right now, I mean, the meta, as far as that goes, is really just turtle and creep, turtle and creep. Step 1, build anti-air. Step 2, build artillery. Step 3, just wait, the game will win itself eventually. Tanks are kind of a bad idea. You kind of build them the last thought just because it's so easy for one mech to destroy an entire army without anything being able to stop them unless you have a critical mass of anti-air.
Or Veil. Veil.
But you know, I'll get to the last bit of that prompt, which is like, what's the most popular thing right now? And that's heavy mines and assassins. Where, yeah. Well, I'll just pass the baton then.
Yeah, what I hear from people is that I've been hearing like a shift, like huge anti-mech and like huge Gemini pushes and like just like random assistant pushes. I've been seeing it evolve over the time, but right now I think it's actually starting to get to that nice sweet spot, especially from the latest of what I've been hearing about Seekers. Because I'm a really big guy, conservative. I like to go back to like the original Herzog, and it's starting to get the feel almost. It's kind of getting there where Seekers are useful at stopping mechs, but they don't stop completely. But this is the problem is I'm coming from a hog player where hogs are naturally very powerful against units, or paladins, which are very good at stopping like when they're grounded against anti-air. So I might be a little biased when it comes to that. But so far lately, like right now, the one thing that's been bugging me the most is formations. I don't know. Like I've never had a good run with formations yet. Like it seems like they bug out on me or do something weird, and I don't know.
They've been changed a lot, like just this week. Like it started out where they added the formations mechanic, and then everything just completely broke. And they completely retweaked the mechanics of it. I think when they added it, it was everything in front slows down till the rear things catch up, and what happened is they all bug the heck out and just get stopped and twitch.
Yeah, I've had that happen. I'm like, okay, guys, rebels, let's take this post, and they go to a slow crawl. I mean, I just want the units to get there as fast as quickly as possible, and they're just not really doing that.
This is also technically going to be on the topic list. Damn it!
Oh god! Damn it,
Oh my god!
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we'll
Anyway,
talk about that.
so apparently, guys, my mic has been on stream has been muted the entire time. So I, for some reason, have not been coming through, even though I set the push to talk. So every time I was talking, they would hear awkward silence.
Awkward turtle.
Wonderful.
Yeah, lovely. So the entire introduction, all that stuff was just absolutely silent. But anyway, if you guys can hear me on stream, I would like to confirm that. So if you could tell me on chat. Yes.
We could have an awkward silence as we wait for stream to confirm whether or not they can actually hear you.
Or reply back.
Worst pilot episode ever.
Well, it's not my fault. It's Ob's. I set the push to talk, and it shut up. Just shut up. Anyway, okay, all right. Let's move on because apparently we've been just. Oh, actually, I do want to get to Insomniac. You have not been able to really speak up, but current state of the game. Do you have anything that you would personally like to add that the public might want to know about? Insomniac.
Well, there's
Insomniac.
there's a lot I could say. I play 1v1 a lot, matchmaking ranked. I feel like that's the only way to get a true feel for how the game is going. I know team games are more popular, and not everything's balanced off of 1v1. But from what I've seen, we are hitting a good point where the artillery jammer meta is there, but you're not forced into it. There are options, as limited as you are by map pathing and map size. There are ways to sidestep certain situations that usually players are forced into. Sometimes it's their own thinking that forces them into going the standard artillery fight way. But myself, I've found non-standard openings and just different tactics work really well sometimes because people are not used to seeing something different, but it works. That's the key thing is I can open with multiple Mortys on duel and send them down a side lane and they work. I can send assassins down a side lane besides the current mechanics, you know. It can work, but you can do double boxer Morty, 8 Morty cheese as a single mech right now. And that's not a great thing, but it can also be defended against if people are aware. So I feel like we're hitting this point where there's a lot of options available. Not everyone's happy about it. Not everyone recognizes that. But I think overall, we're headed in a good direction.
Yeah, I think I kind of understand what you're saying. Where, well, I would like it. I think we're kind of in a transitionary phase in terms of what you're talking about, where it's people have to not necessarily prepare for specific units, except for a couple of obvious standouts, but maybe more prepare for specific tactics, which aren't necessarily unit specific. And we are kind of halfway in between that. I would think. Well, halfway is probably not. Halfway might be a generous assessment, but we are probably somewhere in between where it should be and where it used to be in terms of we need to make sure we can counter this, we can counter that, but in terms of what we need to counter, it should be a tactical problem. Like we need to be able to counter specific set of actions versus specific set of units, and I think we are in a much better place now than we were in the past.
Yeah, I feel like there's options out there, and it's there for people to explore. The patrolling jackals is something that can be abused against players who can't handle it. Again, it can also be a useful tool against a tank seeker push where it's longhorns, and you can't stay around as your mech, but you can use multiple patrolling jackals and deal with the seekers, or deal with the tanks while you find another way to defeat the push.
My idea is that in a game that is perfectly balanced, you will have 8 unit loadout slots, and you will use all 8 of the units, not just 2 with the occasional Morty.
Well, assuming you have a nicely balanced loadout itself. If I know one of the popular broadside theories, or at least ideals, was that in the ideal state of the game, you would have an 8-unit loadout with any set of units, and that could be viable in any game, which is definitely quite optimistic. But I think a more realistic approach would be that a nicely balanced loadout would be able to handle any situation as long as you're quite enough prepared, and that would be an ideal balanced scenario kind of game.
I want to see tangibility with light mine, heavy mine, stasis mine, bombs.
You know what?
Yeah.
You probably could make it work.
I wouldn't be that surprised. Yes, Tangi has certain talents. We know that.
Certain traits.
Alright guys, it's time for us to move on to the actual first topic of the day, first real complete topic. which is the past mechanic, limited resources. So when version 2 rules were first revealed, they not only introduced limited energy outposts, but another new mechanic, limited resources. This eventually led to certain problems, most notably both teams running out of resources altogether and stalemates occurring. After enough experimentation, this mechanic was axed. However, the decision was made before it could be tested on other maps, and without consideration of future economy-type socket units. Do you think limited resources could have worked if implemented differently and on other maps? We're going to start off with Tipsy.
Oh god, I love limited resources. It's just such a shame they just axed it so early, because it gave an alternate way for the game to end. It made certain points so strategic, but I don't think they went deep enough with it. I mean, the map they tested on, which was Salt.
So, oh my god.
Yes, but it was different back then. It was different. You know, we didn't
It
have all
was-
those props. You know, we didn't have like all those neutrals. I don't think at that time we didn't have any units in the bunker, not the bunkers, in the outposts.
Well, this is when Salt was still the V2 rules testing maps, where I don't think they had bulbs or infantry in the outposts at all. They had like this one static ring of bulbs that would slowly charge over time.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
evolve to what we have now, which is the bars on the outposts.
I mean, the regen rates were different with different principles, but it was not that dramatically different than now. I mean, I would say not to the point where it would have had enough of effect on a separate mechanic that it might have really had, you know, that might have been the determining factor to axe it.
I don't know. I think what they saw is they start seeing like the match would get to this. It would get to this point where that both sides are like stacked defenses. No one can breach the other guy, and it just turns to one turtle fest. All of a sudden, resources are gone, and people had no clue what to do at that point.
Well, they do have a clue what to do. It becomes a game of suicide into the fort and continue dying and dying and dying, just doing that little tick of damage for an hour and a half, and then maybe the game will end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the reason they took it out, is because, you know, adding limited resources also came coupled with taking away overtime. So without overtime and with running out of resources, you're left with a game that doesn't end and a game where you cannot build.
Exactly. And
Well,
the Zobomech.
Yeah, I mean, it replaced overtime in a sense that it wasn't a game-ending mechanic. That's what it actually accomplished, you know. And I don't necessarily think it's necessary, but it would have been another layer for the game to actually build upon. And why?
Yeah,
license? Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Because no, they could have done so much with limited resources, like unique resources to each outpost, increased resource rate or whatever.
Yeah, and you know, with the future economy sockets, that might have been much more of an interesting component to the game. And I mean, you got to go back to the fact that it was only tested on Salts, where it was. I mean, it's a linear map. You know, it's a straight line that's kind of wide.
The map itself lends itself to turtling without the mechanics change.
Exactly.
And then, if you had a different map that was a lot more dynamic, I like to think of, say, Sandrum or Vale or something, where turtling is a lot harder because everything's much more spread out and through multiple paths, then that mechanic may have worked out a little bit better. But what I really liked about it was how it made them think of different ways to implement the socket units. Like, moneymakers didn't just generate cash, they harvested cash that you were getting any faster, and so like if you had full socketed moneymakers, you'd have a ton of cash, and then in 2 minutes you'd be broke. You'd have nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I remember that.
Well,
so
sorry, go on.
what if they did the same mechanics, like with limited resources, but along the lines of outposts just don't have a base income? What if moneymakers were your only source of income, or something like that?
oh, you mean it was the
Actually,
only way to
didn't
really
they do that?
harvest? Did they? I don't think they ever tried that.
No, like way back when moneymakers were literally the only way to generate cash. Like outposts didn't generate money. That was like way back in alpha.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't there for that, Tipsy.
Yeah, we started beta.
Different
Anywho,
time,
old school.
different time, folks.
But yeah, I mean the one thing that I really did want to see is if they were. I mean, if it was implemented on different maps, then maybe it would have worked beautifully. For example, let's just take probably the most obvious example, which is Vale. What if the corner outposts were more heavily defended, but they had a double or even triple income rate? And I guess therefore would run out of resources 2 or 3 times faster. Depending on possible, future outpost type variants. Maybe a power station extracts resources at half the rate, or maybe it has double the amount of resources in it and it extracts it at 3/4, something like that. Any kind of statistical variation in those in outpost types. So maybe there would be much more of an incentive to go directly for corner, and even maybe sacrifice one of your outposts so you can guard the corner rather than maybe your close power station, because it had so much more income boost that you would be able to actually make more out of that outpost than if you held held a different kind of outpost as well. That could also have been a late game alternative if the corners were more heavily defended, if maybe the outposts were configured so one side was a little bit more favorable to take for one of the teams than the other, and then the map would be maybe mirrored, something like that, to be able to have one outpost kind of each, and whoever would go for it first, whoever would go for it more aggressively, who would sacrifice defenses at another outpost to be able to go for it. And yeah, it definitely would have been another layer, or would have been able to make late game an even deeper, more complicated, or worthwhile place to be.
See, I feel like that really punishes you for playing aggressively, for taking risks. Like, it's any map with a middle outpost or an odd number of outposts, you basically get an advantage and then hold it until your opponent throws everything away, because you still have that defender's advantage. I feel like that would just turn to every game is just trying to get a slight advantage and then hold it, rather than try to push your advantage and get more ground.
Well, I think
I don't see how games would how it would have any movement based on limited resources. I feel like everything about limiting the total number of units you can field really restricts your ability to play.
Well, technically, limited resources would put in to add a more natural way for the game to end. Like, overtime, oh god, we need to do something now. Instead, it would be, oh god, we're running out of resources, we gotta do something now, kind of thing. That's what they were trying to go for. And if you had less control of the map, then it would come sooner, because you have less overall resources, less overall money. This was supposed to give an incentive to the guy who has more control of the map. Hey, you could push now and he can't rebuild.
Well, I both disagree and agree with what Frisky's saying. I understand that he's saying that even everything that would promote aggression could also promote turtling, just because if you try and fail, then that's worse than not trying at all, because then you would end up with less than you started with. But I personally think that it would probably boil down more to a map design issue, because for example, if the very advantageous outpost to hold was in a position that either had absolutely no advantage in terms of map control, or if it was in a position where it would be incredibly difficult to hold, just due to maybe terrain constraints or something like that, then it would actually probably become, in some cases, it might actually become a credit sink or a time sink. I mean, it's in an ideal scenario where we have a map editor, but you know how that goes.
So with a map editor could possibly come a rules editor, where you could actually change the rule set on that map, because I figure with a map editor you won't be able to just publish your map and then play it multiplayer right away. I figure that might be something that you can only test single player, or maybe with one individual person, or there would be caveats associated with playing on a custom map.
Right.
So yes, you could probably change the rule sets as well to say, okay, this map has limited resources, or on this map Goliaths cost half, or random things like that.
Right. I mean, I guess it depends on how powerful they make their tools. That would be great to have,
I mean, I don't think it's within scope right now. I mean, right now we should be saying, like, we just want that map editor right now. That would be, like, one thing, but it's custom game rules, since that's something I've always wanted, like, hey, no creep spawns, or you have to have a specific loadout, you can't change it. Those are things I've always wanted to see in the game since years ago.
Triple creep spawns.
That'll be horrific. Oh god, you don't even have to build units.
I think we've come up with more topics for the future just now. Triple creep spawn rate. Or how about instead of multiple creeps spawning at every certain time interval, one creep spawns every 2 seconds or something? I don't know.
It's Starship Troopers, and you are the Earth.
Well, the one thing, maybe we'll go back in time. Remember how, like, back in the day, like, creeps, you level up, you had to manually level them up and stuff?
Right.
Imagine you had to do that, while playing, like, I quickly, bum rush, like, level 3 creeps and, like, spawn every 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we had a rule set editor, that would be amazing, and all these things would not be just fantasy, but could be reality. Don't read too much into that, Tipsy.
I think we're getting off topic.
Slightly, just slightly.
Where?
It says limited resources on the screen.
Oh god, where'd that topic go?
Oh god, okay, well,
Creeps. I can't handle
okay,
it.
we gotta move on. Alright, next topic. Whoa, what the hell? Okay, there you go. Okay, guys, we will move on to light and heavy mines. Well, heavy and light. For long-time AirMech veterans, a relatively recent, has been to the trigger conditions for heavy mines, with mechs no longer able to set off heavy mines by simply walking over them. The difficulty of ridding them from the battlefield has caused heavy mines to re-enter the meta, likely due to no other changes being made to these very specific units. In contrast, light mines have seen no buffs to warrant their use. What types of changes do heavy mines still need to undergo to finally fit properly, quote, fit properly, and how should their general use differ from light mine use after both are balanced properly? Seeing as Insomniac is apparently incapable of responding, we'll start off with Frisky once again.
Okay. I am one of those people who will not be screaming that heavy mines are imba right now. I actually think they're in a pretty good spot. I would say that their activation time needs to be lengthened by a couple seconds.
Yes.
Because my problem with heavy mines is that their use is reactive, where you see a push coming after the command has been given, and then you just start dropping mines everywhere, just spamming them, where I would like it more to be, oh, they're positioned to push, I should put some mines down just in case.
Yes.
And them being really powerful things that blow up lots of tanks, that's how they're supposed to be. It's just they shouldn't be bombs. And actually clearing them, I'm a huge fan of X not being able to detonate them. Heavy mines are ridiculously easy to get rid of. You can drop stuff on them in micro like that, but I mean they're spammable, they're cheap. What I think it's encouraging is the use of light units again, where a single zipper, you can just set a single zipper on Y behind your push, it will go in front and it will trip every heavy mine, it will take no damage. A single Joker, a single Jackal, a single Rebel is still fast enough to detonate every heavy mine without taking damage. Or at least the ones that are being placed to keep them from activating, because having a unit proximity keeps them from arming. And so if light units were better for purposes other than tripping heavy mines, like if they went back to being good neutralizers or something like that, I think you'd see a lot more people just taking more diverse loadouts so that they'd be able to counter things like that as well as do something else. Right now, taking zippers, the only reason you're doing it is to try and counter heavy mines.
Yeah, and hard counters are always a bad thing. But something I want to know about heavy mines, before they even changed to this, like, mechs cannot detonate, I used to play a lot of Hyper, and in Hyper so much is happening so fast, it's very difficult for the mech to say, oh my god, there's mines, better trip them. And I started realizing, mines start getting really good, because so much is happening, they can't react, but they won't also drop, healing units, which are supposed to disable mines, or have this, like a light unit run through it, and hopefully detonate them all. I mean, I'm starting to see, like, after this change was put in, it's slowly starting to become just like that Hyper match, those Hyper matches, like, now the mech itself cannot trip all the heavy mines. Now they either had to bunny hop over them, or like you said, just bring a dedicated anti-mine unit. But what's funny is the ones using healing units, which are supposed to stop mines in the first place.
Yeah, I do think that the the effectiveness of healing units on mines should probably increase, just because it's actually pretty difficult to use them specifically for disarming.
I agree with that, and I also have a problem with when healing units are actively disabling a mine, that mine still seems to be able to go off.
No, that's not true. Not true.
Okay, that's not true.
Yeah, no,
okay,
no.
I
I
just
think
lied
it's
to everyone.
it's likely because there's multiple mines in the same spot. You might be actually seeing something that's not there, or
Yeah.
not seeing
the
something that is
disarm
there.
time is still very long for healing units. Osprey too. It just using healing units is an extremely inefficient way to deal with them.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and
No,
you
I
don't
think-
get
I think-
resources. Yeah,
I think Osprey have a faster disarm than healing units should.
Oh, I don't know about
the way I
that.
see it, the way I see it is that there's no incentive to disable the mine. You just might as well use a unit to do it. You don't get resources out of it. You don't convert the mine. You don't get anything.
Exactly. The mechanic for disarming a mine right now is pretty much obsolete. Not even obsolete, but it's less effective than the mechanic that was never really intended in the first place, which is just dropping and picking up a unit on top of the mine before it goes off. Especially heavy mines because of their trigger speed, which is why I've kind of been always sort of saying over and over, I don't know how many times I've actually suggested it on the forums, but once a unit is dropped on a mine instead of moving over the mine, heavy mine trigger conditions should be able to separate those two cases, and if something was just directly dropped over it, the mine should just explode and kill whatever the hell was dropped on top before that you can pick it back up again. And that would...
Instead of changing the mine trigger, what you could do is just make it so that when you drop a unit, you cannot pick up the exact same unit for 1 second.
No, because you're gonna nerf so much other micro that will infuriate everybody if you do that.
Well, you can still micro stop easily, especially if you're shuffling units. That would have no effect. It's when you're dropping one unit and immediately picking the same unit back up that it would have any effect.
Wait. Light mines, don't they insta detonate?
Well, that's a
Light
light mine.
mines almost instantly detonate. You can
Very
eventually
close.
run over light mines and take off before they hurt you.
If you
But
hit the very edge of
it's
it.
a very fast trigger, but it's not instant.
But it's close enough that it will take out the unit you're dropping, or if it's a tank.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
correct.
It doesn't do anything.
So if
Yeah, so you could stack light mines on top of heavy mines and cause people to ditch their own tanks when they're trying to trigger the heavy mines.
I mean,
I do that.
The problem is light mines don't actually kill anything heavy enough that, like, when people try to disarm heavy mines because they are placed reactively, usually it's because they're pushing a tank push and they're using one of the tanks in their push to disarm the heavy mine or set it off. And the light mines, even if you have like 6 stacked there, it'll make the tank go to what, like half health? It's nothing.
Yeah, I mean that's often the problem with light mines. They've never been good. Like the one goal they're supposed to do is stop light units, but the main unit of the game is a heavy unit.
Well, once again, it's a counter to units that aren't used. And so, I mean, why would you use it if the thing that it counters is never in the game? I've actually started picking up light mines again, mostly because of assassin spam, where I use the light mines, they kill assassins if they walk over them, but more importantly, they're like little motion detectors. You put a couple mines over here, you put a couple mines over there on the side pass, and then it gives a beep and a boom when the assassins walk over it, so you know when the push is coming. It's just like a little laser tripwire that just tells you that you should be scouting now.
And that's once again a unit being used definitely not for its intended use, or at least it's like terrible. Like we're all
That's
just
not a
using.
bad thing, how he's describing it.
Right. I mean, it's a cool thing, but it's just so specific. It's so damn specific that, I mean, assuming how about if a light mine goes off, does it matter where you are on the map? Will you hear it?
Typically, yeah, you'll usually hear mines from anywhere on the map.
Okay. I guess that's something we'd have to
From
test.
almost anywhere, yeah.
Okay. So I mean, that's actually that's a cool little feature of light mines. Yeah, I actually have never thought about that, using it as a detection unit for places off map.
But that sounds like a horrible waste of a unit slot just for detecting units. I mean, don't forget, light mines can't even kill jackals, jokers.
Yes, they can.
A single one
They
can't.
can kill Mortys.
Well, that's infantry though. They're
Well,
supposed to.
you never just get a single one. The build cost is very low. The build time is very low, and I've had the kind of mind before that even if you made light mines completely free, they cost nothing, and build time is 0. Build instantly. They're still not worth the effort to go back to your building, pick them up, drop them, and then wait for them to go off. I mean, the upkeep slot alone really keeps them from being worthwhile. They just don't counter enough things that are used for them to ever really be viable.
Yeah,
From what I've experimented, Light mines, again, you went with the detection. They're good for anti-infantry masses. They're actually okay as bunkered or defensive spam for mortar drops and stuff, because the enemy mech has to then go around and trigger them, hurting himself. And one other tactic, which I'm still testing out, is if you just keep spamming them, delaying your enemy to do while you do something else. Like if you put them around middle and duel, while the enemy has their defensive arc with artillery or something, they can't move everything up because they're afraid you're going to throw heavy mines down in with the light mines, or they have all their units running all over these light mines when they try and take over middle.
You bring up a good point with patrolling jackals. That's something that light mines actually counter, because their activation time is really, really low. And like your tanks are looking left and right, just bugging out, like, oh my god, it's jackal, I don't know what to do. You can just put down a couple of light mines in the patrol path, and then bang, jackals are gone. And whenever you have a line of tanks or something, if you put just a handful of light mines behind it, because now the popular thing is distract light units, dropping Mortys behind the tank line, dropping jackals behind the tank line. Light mines will clean that up.
Yeah, but you forget the fact that I could just use a bomb, or I could just drop down with my mech and take care of it. It'd be more time efficient.
No, because transforming and using your mech is not more time efficient. You could be doing dogfighting or microing while you're sitting there trying to shoot jackals that are patrolling and taking turns taking the damage from your mech.
I think it's fair to say that it would be very situational, and sometimes it would be, and sometimes it wouldn't be.
Yeah, it is pretty situational. I still say that light mines, even though they do have some uses and they're come to take just because no one uses them, they're still probably not worth the loadout slot. You can take any other unit and it's a better thing. Like even Turtle's more viable than light mines right now.
Sad but true.
Turtle. Tipsy.
Turtle.
I did tag LYR when he was playing Bomber, so I set like 3 Longhorn together on Thar facing the middle, and I knew he wanted to come and land and kill all my Longhorn when I wasn't there. I stacked 8 light mines right underneath the Longhorn, and so he landed to kill the Longhorn and just instantly blew up. It was beautiful.
Immediately after that game, he said you were bullying him. He messaged me specifically to tell me that you were bullying him.
I mean, I got my butt handed to me that game, but it was worth the effort. That was.
I do want to add a broadside principle to this. I've talked to broadside extensively about mines actually, and one thing is he has always wanted mines to come in clusters, so you don't have all that freaking time wasted picking them up. Number one, building all of them, right? Or waiting for them in your build queue. Picking them up and dropping them over and over and over again. It's so time consuming in itself, as you mentioned, Frisky, that it's just a little ridiculous to have such a small effect take up so much of your mech's time, which is obviously incredibly important. And another thing is we discussed how spammy mines could be, right? Previously, they didn't have an upkeep cost. Now they each take 1. It's nice to be able to spam mines, and maybe that would be one of the play styles, I guess. To one of the options, I guess, in implementing mines for the play style of that of using mines. But the problem is now they have upkeep. You can't just spam them. So one option also is if they took upkeep, you could spam them as much as you wanted, as long as you could clear them from the field without having to pick them up. Well, it's kind of a combination of light mines and heavy mines. Actually,
That's the flaw right there, is that they're clusters, and so if you have a unit that goes down as a cluster, and one of the mine gets set off, then you have 3 more mines that you can or can't pick up. So I think that's an inherent flaw in the idea, is that the upkeep and that you might not be able to pick them up, and the cluster thing, it gets a little too unmanageable.
Yeah,
I think it works.
One thing we did discuss was being able to clear the mines from the field, even if you couldn't pick them up. So, you know how you normally sell a unit just by picking the unit up and hovering over the post and holding space, right? If you were hovering over the mine and had nothing in cargo, there's nothing really to stop the mechanic to be able to sell it or clear it from the field just by holding spacebar. If you can't pick it up, then what other option is there to actually do? So that's one option that we actually have discussed. That was actually Broadside's idea. It's something to think
Well,
about.
I can think of a couple game plan cluster-style mines. The first thing that comes to mind is the Dawn of War series, where that's a real-time strategy game where you place mines and a cluster that goes down, and it's permanent. You can't really remove it, but it can be tripped like maybe 10 times before it disappears. But it's just like this small zone that is now mined.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at
I
Twitch
actually-
chat right now. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, cluster mines have been implemented successfully in other games. There's no reason why they shouldn't work in AirMech. The only thing you need to work out is the logistics of how does that interface with Keep. Because, naturally, if it's something that you can't remove from the map or something that your opponents can't easily remove, if you put a mine in a bad spot, that's basically like downgrading your upkeep slot by one unit. So I think you're right, where if there is a way to recycle them or just to remove them from the map, I think cluster mines really is the way to go to make black mines a good, viable unit.
No,
Why don't
at
you-
this rate, you might as well just go back to having no key on mines. There you go, problem solved.
Yeah, but then you can put them everywhere on the field, and the only thing that's stopping you is a hard cap of the map, and it's I don't know. That
That's
seems
good.
too easy.
Why
I don't like the lack of thought in it personally. I would personally prefer the ability to clear heavy mines off the field without being able to pick them up, and they could take like 3 upkeep as long as they were really powerful. But the one thing that I like to have in that unit is the requirement of thinking about how to use it instead of just spamming it wherever the hell you want to.
Yeah, because the way I'm thinking is, I'm thinking light mines. Like, let me just throw a whole dash of 20 light mines here. I mean, it doesn't matter. I throw a dash of 20 of them. Those tanks are just gonna eat them up like nothing. But you throw enough of them, it's gonna stop them. But in terms of heavy mines, I'm not a fan of clusters with heavy mines because they're so powerful. One heavy mine can really take up 2 tanks.
Yeah, heavy mines you have to be a little more sparing with, but I think that's partially because of build speed, partially because of upkeep. Light mines, yeah, they build so fast, it's just like you queue them up, they're done as soon as you queue them, and it's a couple here, a couple over there, a couple over there. There, my outpost feels kind of defended. One mech lands and they're all gone, but anyway.
But, alright, I'm guessing you guys already mentioned the fact that we could extend the arm time for heavy mines to about 7 seconds, and that would require players to actually use them as forethought, as mentioned, and not as
Yeah.
reactive.
Yes, sir.
Frisky said that's like one of the first
bomb
things he said.
alternatives.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, but-
terrible.
Okay, I missed it.
Yeah, but if you end up doing that, then you got to jack up its power. It's got to be worth it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's
because you can I was using them before they even had the buff, and they were still very, very powerful then because you could hide them, and you can hide them under units. You can put them by units and have AA to keep enemy mechs from triggering them. They were always good. I think people just didn't know how to use them.
I was using heavens before they were cool.
Well,
That's
back
true.
then, though, yeah, but the thing is that you have to put them where the enemy's going to come from, not like as an anti-mech deterrent or anti-drop deterrent.
I mean,
This is true.
No, I mean light mines are more of an anti-drop deterrent, but heavy mines. I mean, people learn the pathing of every map, and you know where the tanks are going to go.
I mean, if there's heavy mines in your path, regardless of how obvious they are, how long they've been sitting there, you really can't push until you deal with those heavy mines, whether that be through dropping or repair units or some kind of micro to try and deal with them. Otherwise, your entire push is going to die, or you have to push with 1 unit at a time or try using light units. But they are to be reckoned with.
Yeah, Wills was always that weird unit. Like, oh, this unit came out, it could stop mines, but at the time it came out, mines were a piece of crap anyways.
Sanguinius actually just brought up a concept that I actually haven't thought about before, where if mines were actually in clusters, and you know how it's been really discussed that mines could be invisible on the ground or something like that, but then it's like, I don't want to be able to do that. Then maybe is there going to be a hard counter unit to detect them and all that stuff? But what he actually just suggested is maybe if mines came in clusters, there could be an indicator, maybe like a light circle on the ground or something like that, to the enemy team that shows the area that the mine is in, but you don't actually know where the mines are located within that area. So it could be a pretty large area, maybe 3 tanks wide radius, or sorry, diameter or something like that. And then you just know that there's a mine there, but you just don't know exactly where it is. So you don't know if your tanks are going to run over it, if your mech is going to run over it. So it's hidden, but you just know the approximate area.
See, this is kind of been with the cloaked mines, and I know the developers have said they don't want cloaked mines that can hurt mechs.
I mean, it's not necessarily the same thing, though.
And get mad because they don't know why they died. Besides the fact that noobs get mad at everything that kills them.
Well, James has repeatedly spoken out against any kind of mines, but Carbon also does have a way of doing things that they have listed out and said things that we will never do. Mass commands given from the air.
No comment.
So, I mean, cloaked mines could be a thing in the future, and it would not be new player friendly, but I think you would have to have some easy way to say, oh, this is a minefield, like even instead of like a highlighted area or something on the minimap, even just like little maps, like a little sign with a skull and crossbones just sprouts somewhere within X distance of the mine.
Yeah, +1. I like that.
So if there's like a dense minefield, there would be lots of little wooden signs around. That would just be funny.
You know, guys. There's an actual big map you can bring up, right?
Well, no, they got rid of that a long time ago, Mister. I don't play that
much. No, they did.
Yeah, man.
I'm pretty sure it's still in the game.
No, you're wrong.
No.
Trust me.
What? All right, wait. Simple thought here. What if they did with light mines what they did with heavy mines and made it so mechs couldn't trigger them?
I wouldn't be opposed to that, actually. I mean, it just basically what that would do is take away the ability for you to use them to kill mechs, which is kind of the opportunities are kind of few and far between, and I think you might have gotten it out of your system already, Frisky.
I actually like the idea of mechs being able to trigger light mines because, you know, even if they're not doing any harm, people want to get rid of them. They want to clear out the mines, and the way that you clear light mines right now is to walk on them. And you almost always take damage from that. So
I think if you always took damage,
or something,
maybe it would be good if you always took damage. I think that might be the detonation was maybe half the length of time it is now, and that way it would be pretty much guaranteed every single time. And then
the best way to achieve that is an AoE effect, which it doesn't really have very much of.
That's true.
And also,
I mean, you could increase the flash radius of light mines, but what would that really do?
Well, one thing
That'll prevent the fast round mechs from getting away.
One thing I don't like about light mines being able to be detonated by certain mechs, or by mechs themselves, is certain mechs are going to be a lot more effective in doing it, just because paladins, hogs, and stuff like that are a lot more tanky than Neos and saucers, so it's sort of, the tactic would work a lot more effectively against certain mechs, where it's mostly a anti-unit unit, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll confess, it takes like 30 plus light mines to kill a paladin.
Yeah, it's...
Yep.
I mean, I would say...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go, you go.
I was going to say, just in the ways that we described earlier about the uses for light mines, whether it's against patrolling jackals, or light unit rushes, or infantry drops, in those instances, you don't want the enemy mech to interfere with them, and if you bunker light mines at every entrance to your outpost, and they Morty drop it, and all they got with them is Mortys, then they have no way to disarm those mines before the Mortys try and go in and trigger it and die.
But in almost all of those cases, there is something that would be better in that scenario, whether it be Mortys of your own, or flamers, or bear traps, or stasis mines.
Well, I mean, they might not be as cheap though.
I don't find Mortys bunkered right now to be that great, because people know to kill the Morty that's bunkered before they start shooting at the outpost, because you can kill the infantry bunkered faster than you can kill the ones in the outpost.
True.
Okay, I think we've actually discussed mines to length. Any closing thoughts before we move on?
increase heavy mine activation time, and light mines, my god, I have no idea.
I think light mines could benefit a direct buff, actually. Just more DPS or something, or more damage. I don't know, just something. Anything to start it off right now would probably be good. Alright guys, so let's move on to the next topic, which is going to be Mass Command AI, pathing, and formations. A recent patch has changed mass commands, and now groups that are assigned an order create a formation. This formation will I put formation in quotes, by the way. This formation will try to keep its relative unit positions, and individual units in the front will slow down to let units in the back catch up when navigating around obstacles or terrain. This has had the unintended consequence of making all large pushes slower and thus easier to scout and or stop. This has resulted in a change in the AI, and now lagging units speed up to catch leading units instead. Can this new mechanic be further tweaked to allow the use of complex formations without crippling mobility? And I will... okay, apparently Insomniac is muted and deafened, so I'm going to throw this out to Tipsy for now. Or, wait, Insomniac just unmuted. Did you hear the prompt, sir?
I did not. I had something I had to do for 5 seconds while you were talking.
Okay, well, it was basically Mass Command AI pathing formations is the category and topic. So, you know, the updates that have been tweaked to the AI. So, basically the final question prompt was, can this new mechanic be further tweaked to allow the use of complex formations without crippling mobility?
I would have to say that it looks like your voice is mic'd up. I don't know. Talking.
Oh, did you hear him?
Yeah, I heard you. I just waited a second there. I'm sorry.
So the formations right now, my personal opinion is that we don't need the formations. As soon as we got the mass unified command speed where all units move at the same rate, you could pick and choose which units are leading your push, whether it's rollers or grinders or whatever. You could make the center of your push jackals or flackers. But the main issue I have is, the terrain. A lot of things come down to maps. You have choke points, you have sharp curves that ruin the formations. I know nobody liked the single file pushes before, but with the unified mass command speed, I felt like that was already kind of no longer relevant.
So you're saying that formations didn't really add that much to the gameplay?
I feel like they added something to the gameplay where people were saved a little bit of time in reorganizing their units before they sent them. And I do think it probably helped out the newer players a lot more. That helped out. Maybe I'm just biased, veterans bias, because I feel like I don't need the formations mechanic myself. But I guess they do serve a purpose for the newer players and for the average players even, so that their units don't string out the way they used to. So it's a good intention. I feel like it's going somewhere good, but I don't see where it could go any further.
Well, technically, wasn't the mechanics put in so like the when you push, it's not just like one unit after another. I mean, it was pushed so they all tried to attack at the same time.
They all become one group. So, like, if you had a complex formation with a large surface area, then in the formation mechanic, the units will try to keep that formation. Now, Bondi's bringing up, what about choke points? Well, naturally, they'll have to clump up to get around the choke point, but they'll still keep that same move speed. The ones in the side will have to go faster to close in, and then as soon as they get out of that choke point, they'll spread out again. So I think that actually has potential to add a lot to the game with, creating a concave, telling it to move, and then it becomes a concave as it gets to the point that it's trying to get to.
Sure, if the units are going to drive like NASCAR racers turning left, then that would be great. But I think that's in far future, to the point where right now when you see units hitting choke points or tight curves, what happens is one unit hits the curve, snags, stuck in place, causes a traffic jam of sorts, and then your whole formation's screwed up.
Yes, I agree.
Everything just gets deadlocked because of that one weak link.
I mean, hopefully that's a bug, or not necessarily a bug, but just a flaw in the AI that will be, tightened up later, and that kind of thing won't happen. Maybe if it hits a corner, it'll take a slightly wider turn path or something like that. Whether or not Dan can fix that, I think he can. The guy is amazing when he's updating all the AI for all the units that we've been asking for. And so
No, he's been pretty great at updating stuff rapidly, and it's been wonderful with the new off topic, the new AI for the opponent mechs and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's true. But one question. Okay, I just want to add though that the latest update where it had the lagging units speed up actually has caused further bugs, yes. But as in more controlled conditions that actually showcase the performance of these formations, it's actually pretty amazing. I actually witnessed a team bridge push chasm, and the formation held until it hit the bridge, and then once it hit the bridge, it went to single file line, and then as the single file line passed over the bridge, the formation actually reformed, and then they continued pushing, mostly with that formation intact. And a little bit more work could probably get that much tighter, much more cleaned up. But I actually, after watching that, I was very, very impressed, and I think that hopefully soon, something like that, the formations will really enhance pushes in gameplay. I guess the one big concern is if it gets too good, do you think maybe Defender's Advantage would almost cease to exist? Like, I think Defender's Advantage is one of the key principles in AirMech. We don't really want to give direct attackers advantage. So will there ever maybe be a point where formations will be so damn effective, and maybe they'll be like 6 tanks wide, that Defender's Advantage on certain maps in certain areas without choke points will pretty much not even exist?
Well,
I think I can offer a decisive no to that particular speculation.
Exactly.
Yeah, 6 units wide is never going to happen.
Well, I mean, even if it did happen, I mean, Defender still has the advantage there. You still have a strong advantage in defending the choke points. Now, I like that the formations don't break, like, when they pass through a choke point, but that choke point is still a huge defensive position. Now, it might encourage people to turtle up somewhere that's not immediately over their post, which I always think is a cool idea if the game can be less outpost-centric. But,
I guess my question might have been a little extreme. How about, if formations got, amazing enough, would it lessen Defender's Advantage to the point where it should be better than it would be, given formations approaching so well that it would diminish Defender's Advantage to the point where it won't really be that major of a component in the game?
Yes. Because right now, if you bridge push, a week ago, if you bridge push on Chasm, your units will stay single file, regardless of what they look like before they cross the bridge. So it's essentially, the choke point is all the way at your post. You're extending the effectiveness of the choke point to wherever it is the defender is located, unless the attacker stops and reorganizes. With the formations, the choke point only benefits the defender at the choke point.
And I want to add on what Frisky's been saying. I mean, don't forget, AirMech is very, like you said, it's very outpost-centric. So the game's always going to be geared towards that. Whoever's defending is always going to have the natural advantage because he has the outpost right there. His distance he has to defend is much shorter than the attacker. And a lot of things can go wrong for the attacker. So anything like formations, how they move, how wide they go, no matter anything that benefits the attacker is always going to be good for the game, because the defender, no matter what, is always going to have some sort of defender's advantage.
That might be a great segue into our next topic, but for now, I'll ask if anyone would like to have any closing thoughts on the prompt itself. Like, how do you think the mechanic and AI will be tweaked from now on to maybe change up how formations work or how they stay together?
I think they'll probably make the actual formations, like whatever position they started in, will probably be a lot more sticky. I think units will gravitate to those positions a lot quicker.
I agree.
I think
there's
what,
probably gonna be like some sort of central mass that they're all gonna gravitate to, and even when it falls all the way back, they'll like zip like like light speed to get to that center mass.
That would be an interesting take with like clumps of unit. Like, what if you started your push with everything spread out in like a speckled formation, just to like reduce the effectiveness of bombs and mines as your push crosses over them. I mean, you forfeit the concentrated firepower, but once again, that's the point where you actually make a tactical choice of formation versus what you're going up against, and that formation would actually have an effect on how battle goes.
I like that actually. If there was a
I think
possibility,
that's pretty cool.
If there was a possibility to change sort of the options as to what we'd want the formations to look like, that's it. I guess becomes a problem of interface. Like a lot of things that have been suggested in the game, like how would we even get that to happen in the game, kind of thing. But that would be really cool to see actually. And I definitely have faith in Carbon Dan's ability to make this work, so hopefully we'll see this new mechanic get better and better, and like Tipsy said, make it so good that obviously the defender's advantage will never go away due to how the game's outpost centric, so it needs to just get as good as it possibly can. Alright guys, so we're going to move on to the next topic, which is the future addition to the game, the new unit, or like the future unit, the missile silo, pretty much a nuke. Recently, DevCan leaked the existence of a unit plan for the future, the missile silo. This unit would act very similar in nature to traditional RTS-type nuclear missiles by launching a missile that created an incredibly damaging explosion after a time delay. Carbon James later described its operating procedure precisely in the forums. I'll actually go over that now. Let me actually I didn't set this up properly. Give me one sec.
I have it up in front of me if you'd rather someone else read it.
Yeah, I got yeah, go ahead. Read the procedure real quick and I'll put it up on the screen.
Step 1. Build a nuke target. But if you don't have a silo, it builds a silo. It's a TechPod variation. Number 2. Place silo on any socket for it to work. 3. Now you really build nuke target. 4. Place the nuke target in the world somewhere. It will be possible to destroy or reclaim the target, but hard. Probably easier to just get the hell out of there. 5. Silo will launch the nuke and it'll home in on the target.
Okay, and so our prompt is how will this completely new type of unit, it's a completely new category, like there's no other unit like it at all before in AirMech, affect the overall meta, and will it have a positive or negative effect? I will give this to Frisky actually.
Well, for it to ever be used, that's got to be one hell of a nuke, because the opportunity cost is, let me just build a Devastator and drop it. It's really easy to just pick up and bring home if it starts getting dicey. And it still does a ton of damage short span of time, with similar long build speed, without the harassability of being a fragile socket unit, without having a massive telegraph that, hey, there's going to be a nuke here, you should totally leave because this is going to blow up. Instead, I can just drop my Devastator right there and start shooting. No warning. I think a nuke would have to be more powerful than is reasonable to have in a game for it to actually be applicable here. At least with that particular rule set.
Insomniac?
Well, I have a million questions as to things that could happen, such as launching multiple nukes at once, if there's more than one target required, more than one target unit required. What happens if you pick up the target right as the missile's coming down? Does it damage friendly units? What happens if I abduct the target, the nuke target? Does the missile become mine?
How about this?
That sounds a lot of technical.
How about this? How
That's
would
what you get when you have someone who mains saucer.
How would you prefer to see it work? Actually, what implementation do you think would be the best, most effective way for it to actually function?
You know what? I'm gonna avoid the technicality stuff that I just brought up, because I'm gonna leave that to the people who are paid to deal with the answers to that.
Damn you.
I really feel like the existence of the unit will cause some changes in gameplay. You will see some teams turtle up more. You'll see some teams become more aggressive because they want to deny the launch. You'll see people trying to snipe the silos or kill the nuke target fast enough before the missile reaches their units, which I'm not sure what happens then if the missile's already in the air.
Sanguinius.
I just see a lot of the same stuff that we have now. It's a lot like with the tech pods where you have these high value targets where people are going to be focused on them a lot more than normal units.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, like adding a nuke silo, like adding a tech pod is along the lines of, like, because tech pods became the target. Sniping tech pods was the name of the game when tech pods were a thing. And it made Goliaths and higher tier units almost unused just because tech pods kept getting sniped.
I mean, I think one large component of that, though, was that it was always visible on the opponent's minimap, and if the nuke silo doesn't have that component, it probably will not fall victim the same way. Maybe, I mean, obviously it will still be sniped in certain circumstances, but depending on the balance, how much HP it has, what kind of benefit it actually does have on a socket, how much armor what kind of armor increase it gets, stuff like that. I mean, I think we could actually make it not a problem. I mean, tech pods is something that I have on our topic list that we're going to talk about probably in a future episode. That is something that we could probably drone on just for the entire hour itself, which we're actually past right now. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing that if you're thinking of it as exactly like a tech pod, then yeah, it's going to be problems because tech pods probably could have used some work before they were actually removed. I'm sorry.
The thing I see about back then is that very few units have utilized it, like rollers, drillers, oh my god, grinders, and Goliaths. These were like very specific units that only use the tech pod. So when people come in with Longhorns and Gemini, they could still win the game without Goliaths because of that. So even if you sniped it, you would still have your full power. The other guy, so you didn't need like a specific snipe target.
Well, the problem with the tech pods was because they were such a target, it discouraged people from going for those tech units at all towards the end. People just avoided all tech units because they didn't want to spend the money on tech pods.
Yeah, and they would cost so damn much. Yeah.
I could get out one Goliath, my tech pod sniped, and so essentially what it was that my one Goliath just cost 40,000 credits, which just wasn't worth it.
All right, guys, this is getting a little off topic. This is about the nuke silo, so okay.
Yeah. So,
okay.
I mean, with regards to the actual nukes themselves, I actually really like the idea if it could be a very powerful, very small area of effect weapon, kind of like what we wanted bombs to be for a while, like sniping things. Maybe a little bit larger than that. Maybe take up the size of an outpost, an area, but just be really, really freaking powerful to make one spot on the map scorched earth. I see that in situations like Thorn, where you have one hard point, and if you can just get to that hard point or force your opponent to relocate Sal, then you can start swinging the game in favor. Like, you might have to have a 3-to-1 unit ratio, but even then the defender's advantage is so hard on Nesthorn that having the numbers really doesn't help you there. But a nuke might actually be able to make something happen in a game other than wait another 20 minutes until I get dropped to death.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that because the way I see I'm sorry. The way I see that Carbon's doing the things here, they're trying to create these ultimate game enders. That's what we saw with the Devastator, at least they attempted to initially, which didn't really work out, but that's another thing. But now they're trying to do the same thing with nukes, like another game-ending unit. I'll drop a nuke here, I'll wipe out everything unless you do something insane, like an all-out push. Just pray that it will dodge the nuke and hopefully take me out in the process. I mean, I like the way that Carbon's trying to go with these ultimate game enders, but with nukes, though, I mean, this might actually encourage some sort of nuclear warfare, mad like what we have now, like assisted destruction. Whoever gets nukes first, kill the other guy's nuke silo or something like that. So it's going to be one giant nuclear warfare.
I mean, obviously the balancing.
I see it going the other way. I mean, I feel like if it's got a high cost and high upkeep or anything like that, it's going to favor the turtlers here, building up their upkeep, building up their defenses, and they'll be able to use the nuke while they're building up their numbers and safely do that because they can protect their silo and everything. And I see it as it is a game ender. It's a stalemate breaking tool.
Yeah.
It'll definitely break the stalemates that we had during some tournaments, those Twin Peaks matches. I think that's why it's better to have a wider AoE for the damage, because if you're doing a 3v3, you see them drop down the target for the nuke, all three players, whether they're carry mech or not, will start scrambling and moving all their units out of the way.
I mean, well, it depends. See, this goes into how this thing is actually going to be balanced, and I'll go even further back to what you were saying is, what if it's actually high cost, and Tipsy saying maybe it'll become a nuclear warfare thing. See, it really, really depends on the specific balance of this unit. So I'm not too worried about it becoming one of those two things specifically, because we as in the community, I guess, but it can always be tweaked as far as how strong it is, how long it takes to build, how expensive it is, and all that stuff. You don't see like 6 Devastators out on the field unless it's like 40 minutes into the game, so you're not going to see 6 nukes. Yeah, but this kind of brings me to its the intended use. Initially you think nuke silo and you think AirMech. Oh, okay, maybe you're bringing it in to prevent turtles, because this is one of the biggest complaints in the game. People just sit there and you can't really push into them, even because of the defender's advantage, all that stuff. Even with artillery, there's so many healing units and jammers that yada yada yada. But with the nuke silo, assuming you could just drop your target and say, okay, go, it's time to go kill the turtle. If that was its intended use, then sure. But once again, everything that can be used offensively to break a turtle could also be used defensively, similar to what Insomniac was saying, who is muted right now. And you could just turtle up and use it against the people who are actually in the lead, maybe hold mid, so you don't necessarily have to be the winning team or the losing team to actually utilize this unit. And that kind of bothers me.
I'm more of a mind with Insomniac along the lines of, it's not so much a game ender. It is much more like with the role of the Devastator. I don't think that the Devastator is a game ender so much as a stalemate breaker, along the lines of, is the game been going on for a really long time? Something needs to happen. And a nuke can turn the tide of the battle, and I would expect it to be very expensive. I wouldn't expect people to turtle up, try and save for the nuke, because it's similar to turtling up and saving for the Devastator. You're going to get your crap pushed in by Mass Gemini if you're trying to go for Devastators. It has to be something that you just eventually get to in a stalemate situation. And I think a nuke would actually fill that role perfectly as something that it's not necessarily something that you would go for as, okay, you have the advantage, but you can't finish the game because the defender's position is too good. So then the nuke will actually help you tilt that scale.
That sounds awfully like a giant plan B. If anything goes wrong, shoot the nuke and pray.
Yeah.
Wait, I have the answer. Jammers make missiles miss their target.
Oh no.
I hate you.
No more hard unit, no more hard
I
counters.
hate you with a passion.
You want a hard counter? How about jammers?
Okay, so the
That
dev
jammers
has
changed the friendly fire direction.
So the dev has spoken. Insane Firebat has declared, or at least informed us, that the nuke missile will be very time-consuming. It'll take a while to both prep the missile, and then it will take a lot of time to travel to the target. Both will be very significant. So I guess I can see this becoming a stalemate breaker in the truest sense of the word, when neither side can actually do anything. One side could probably force the other side's hand, assuming they have nuclear missiles in their loadouts. So
What if you could get nuclear missiles regardless of taking a loadout slot? What if it was just another upgrade, like a mech upgrade or something that's unlocked at level 15? That's like build nuke, and every mech can get it. You don't have to do a loadout slot, but it takes like 50,000 credits and 4 minutes, or something like that. I don't know.
I mean,
Well,
I guess
I'm looking out for the controller players. How would you implement that on the controller?
Well,
one of the problems.
well,
Strange topic.
well.
Screw your controller.
No, I like it. Wait, okay. I don't like the direction that Frisky was going in, but I can answer that question. Actually, it can be an ultimate upgrade. If you have every single upgrade, the only upgrade, then all the upgrades turn into one upgrade, which is the nuke. It sounds stupid, but it could work.
That was really
That's actually
stupid.
a good one. No, I like that idea because you can't get every upgrade until you're very high level anyway. You don't get very high level until the game's going on for a very long time. I think that's really the way to implement nukes, is not make it a loadout slot, because it's going to be so powerful that really 9 out of 10 games you play, a nuke just isn't going to happen. So you would make it something that can happen regardless of what you put in the loadout slot. And I think making it an upgrade, whether an ultimate upgrade or unlocked at a particular player level in game, I think that's the way to go.
Actually, that sounds like very interesting. It's like you can change out the type of upgrades or abilities your mech has. Like you could swap out, like, I don't want the air to ground ability as a Warhawk, I'll put the nuke in there, and that could be like a level 10 before it unlocks. It's a very interesting concept.
Optimize the abilities of your AirMech, like you have multiple choices for Warthog. One is air to ground, the other is faster spin up, the other is like nuke at level 10.
Yeah.
Making it a choice, I'm not sure. That would be another way to go. As they come up with more balanced abilities, that would be
a
cool
little
idea,
bit.
But
I actually, randomly, I think this is actually something that Bonji suggested like a year ago or something like that, or like 8 months ago. But either way, okay.
no one remembers, so it's okay.
Okay, so I'll close this topic out real quick in a little bit, but I do want to remind everyone in chat that you guys can actually ask questions to us, which we could address should we choose, the best questions in the game, or sorry, the best questions in chat, or any good questions in chat at all. So if you guys have any questions that you might want us to address at the end of this, let us know in chat. Insane Firebat is actually keeping track of everything. So anybody, any of you guys with final thoughts on the missile silo?
It goes boom.
It goes boom. Let's see how it's like.
Doc is always cool with me.
Alright guys, we are going to move on to the viewer questions. The first 3 that we're going to address were all submitted by Blast to Bits, and I kind of like them. The first one was actually listed on my topic list for a future episode, but I know that actually this is going to change soon, so I would like to address it now as much as possible. So this is going to address assassins, so I actually made a full prompt out of this. After a recent change to Assassin AI, Assassin spam has become a popular trend, clearly. This specific spam is very different from past unit spam trends. Assassins are dropped on C, clumped, and after a critical mass is gathered, set to Y, but because Assassins now ignore everything on their way to the enemy fort, they are virtually given a free ticket to the other end of the map with no real penalty. Carbon James indicated in the forums today that they were suffering from a behavioral AI bug and will be updated soon. He said, quote, "I will make sure that the unit behaves as originally intended, and in parentheses, shreds infantry isn't good versus heavy armor / structures." End quote. No further information was given, even though I asked for it. What do you make of these recent developments? Insomniac.
Well, I've been the one leading the forums to openly debate this to get things changed because it is so broken. I had to make a YouTube video about it and put it on my channel and share it with people just so they could see how much of a dick I could be by showing people that assassins are broken by just building many assassins, sending them across the map, and then just screwing around until I won because all I had to do was send more assassins.
Yeah, I actually watched that live. It was
I've
funny.
done this.
It's yeah, it's been bad. It's been bad.
Yeah, the mechanic right now. I'm sorry. I need to get it out. The mechanic right now is so awful that it doesn't matter what your skill level is. It doesn't matter what kind of prep defense. Paranoid defenses you have at your fortress, the assassins will hit your fortress first, and then your units will respond. Besides the fact that you're obligating people to do whatever, this whole idea was an Xbox player's idea, and I think Carbon just was trying to please people a little too fast, and the results didn't turn out the way they expected, and thankfully it's getting handled now, because it's so broken it's bad manners to use Assassin right now. And I love the unit because I can use it to kill Goliaths and Grinders and Longhorns by swarming them with Assassins. Or I used to be able to.
You know, I want to build on that actually. I remember the assassin problem was coming up, and everyone saying, "Oh, that's the worst thing in the history." I'm like, "What could be so bad?" And I remember I went into a match. I entered a match. Yeah.
Never mind. Go ahead.
I enter a match. We enter a match. Everything was me and RUI. It was on Veil.
Damn it.
Yes. They came in. These two guys. They spammed nothing assassins. Nothing but assassins. And they started hitting the fort. I remember this. I told RUI, it's nothing. All of a sudden, there was like 50 of them.
Okay, and this is one point I actually wanted to bring up, but because Tipsy is a very experienced, knowledgeable player, okay? But he just isn't 100% caught up on the current trends and the current meta. So when we got into that game, I don't remember who the hell we were playing, but I personally felt the way we were interacting with these guys.
Who you were playing, they know how to build assassins.
And okay, yeah, either way, and yeah, they could have been brand new players as long as they had this little bit of information that if you do this, it will achieve this under any circumstances, and that's what really bothered me. So I mean, I go in with Tipsy, who is a very experienced player, very knowledgeable, just wasn't caught up in the current meta, and we get, to me, we are clearly better than these people, and I didn't really have to try very hard to win. But once Tipsy said, "Oh, we have assassins at our fort," he said that as if he didn't know what was happening, because he didn't. He hadn't played for, I don't know, a week or two, and he just saw, okay, there's assassins, and I immediately knew in my head what was happening. He did not. So I said, "Do you need any help?" He said, "No, I got it." And I was like, "Are you sure? Our life is going down pretty fast." And he's like, "Yeah, I got it." Well, no. I came back, and we both of us at the same time could not prevent it from actually doing actually killing us. So, yeah.
That's what
the thing is that they're just like any other massed unit. Their DPS drains your fort health so fast. Some people say that the assassin damage versus fortress is too much. It might be, I'm not sure. But I mean, when we've done things in the past like massing zippers and surprising people with mass zippers to take down their fort, I mean, that works just as well sometimes, but this is different.
This is very different.
I'm sorry.
I definitely agree, Insomniac, that the assassin damage to fort might be a little high. Might not. Either way, because that's not even necessarily the problem. The problem is that they actually can hit the fort without any consequences. They'll get there, and without a doubt they will get there, unless there are specific light mines. Today's pro derp, by the way. But yeah, unless there are specific light mines right in their path. And that is almost that's very close to the definition of a hard counter. You're preparing specifically for a specific unit, not even a tactic, a specific unit in the game, and that's terrible in a limited loadout system game.
Oh yeah.
Mass assassins takes time to do, so if you don't lose to an initial rush of mass assassins, then they are scoutable. Now, trickle assassins is a lot more effective because they still for guaranteed damage, but they are also countered with lunchbox. So, I mean, it's not as overpowered.
I miss the old mechanic because it's the pathing issue. Because if you set assassins on T, attack enemy units, whether they're neutral or enemy player units, along the way, if they're on capture. But if you want them to take a different path along a map, say duel, you want them to take the side path on duel, and you want them to use them to clear out the enemy Goliaths, and then hit the enemy forward. They can't do that because and you have to put them on wide, that specific path now. But with the old mechanic, the old AI for attacking the fortress, they would actually go through and clear, much the way you use shooters to clear out the sides, but it's just my preference on how to use the unit. But it's a pathing thing, it's a usability, it's a...
Well, I understand. That's your preference on how to use the unit, and because of the specific AI problems, you don't actually really have that option without taking borderline drastic measures to be able to actually accomplish that, and that sucks.
Yeah, but I mean that applies to all maps. When you want, play in all the maps and you learn the pattern, you know that if you set it on Y, it's going to go this way. If you set it on T, it's going to go that way. And you want them to do certain things along the way and not just ignore everything. And I feel like what if they did that with other units? I don't know.
I remember when Assassins came out, and the first thing I thought of, I could do sneak attacks on outposts. And now that I see that I could do these sneak attacks on fortresses, I've been and not really think about it. But at the same time, if you send them out, let's say attack this outpost, and they start attacking everything on the way, wouldn't that just negate the one primary advantage they have, which is to remain stealth?
Yeah, I think this is the main debate point. I think Smash has been posting specifically, with that argument, and it's a tough call. I think Insomniac definitely has input on this.
The thing is, they're unit assassin. They're not structure assassins. They're not demolition units. The point of them is not to go and stab a building, whether it's an outpost or a fortress. They don't stay cloaked just so they can stab walls. They're a swarm unit. They're a melee unit, and the whole point of the cloaking is so you can actually build up enough of them to use them to overwhelm tanks or other units, and that they can get close enough without being shot by, whether it's a Gaddy or a Jackal or a Gemini. They don't get shot until they're already dealing damage. Because otherwise, it's basically like sending FF2000s into tanks. I mean, they're just going to be shot, and yeah.
Yeah, it would not turn out very well for them.
Yeah, and this actually brings me into the next part of the topic, which is intent, design intent for the usage of these units, which James actually did say that the intent was to shred infantry and not good against heavy armor or structures. I personally really like the fact that they do a decent job against tanks and seekers and turrets and stuff like that. Well, how do you guys feel about that statement that they're intended to shred infantry but just not good against structures and heavy things?
So that would make them just a crappy flamer then.
Yeah.
But I mean, them being good against tanks also puts them on rank with Mortys as just being unilaterally better than just about every other infantry. They're equally spammable, equally priced as soldiers, and SAMs are inferior. SAMs are more expensive, do less damage, and are less survivable. So, I mean, you have some infantry are just better than others, and I feel like, maybe it wouldn't be so bad with them being good against tanks. I'm okay, just looking at Assassin with them being good against tanks, but in comparison to the other infantry that are available, I don't really like that. I think, maybe soldiers just need a buff or something.
Do you agree with the role that he's intending to fill with the assassin, with that logic, what that he said?
Since it's just good against infantry, and the majority of times that you see infantry, it's maybe a couple fixers or a couple Mortys dropping into a post. I mean, having a unit that almost specializes in anti-infantry is kind of silly. Because there just aren't enough infantry being used. You're not trying to come up with a hard counter to Carl. You're trying to create a new unit with a different role.
Right.
I'm okay with it being good
I have to
against
say
tanks.
on that.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, go.
No, because I understand the issue. Your complaint specifically, like Mortys. People are dropping Mortys into tank clusters like they're boomers, and the issue is not just the Mortys' toughness that they can survive a little bit, one or two shots before dying, but their grenades actually do AoE area damage. That's the main point of the Mortys. I feel like assassins, they are a swarm unit. You can use them to take out, if you use 4 assassins, you can use them to take out like a tank or two while assisting with your mech. But if you want to do anything more than that, you need to actually build up a mass of them and use them as a melee swarm, whether it's to preemptively deal with the AI for the enemy units, overwhelm someone who's using mostly anti-air flackers and only a few like armadillos or something. I think they're more of a swarm unit, and they're not they're not quite on par with Morty, the way Morty has its splash damage. But I agree with you that there are certain infantry that have much better purposes than the basic ones, but again, you have different roles for different units, so I don't think they should all be good at the same things.
You know, that actually makes me think about one of the major problems in AirMech, I guess, which is design intent for a unit versus actual useful usage of that unit. Busters come to mind. Obviously, Mortys nowadays. You know, are Mortys supposed to do what they're heavily used as today, as a drop for splash damage unit? Probably not. I don't think they're.
Well,
you know, what?
Well, technically, I remember when James was starting to put on these new infantry, he had a vision that the Morty would be like the demo man from TF2. He would be able to bust defenses, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, how would that be accomplished? Because right now they're heavily used like boomers, which they do a very reliable job of doing what boomers are intended to do. Actually, you know.
Not only that, they can capture the post after they blow it up.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I figured what James tried to do is he had a vision that each infantry had a very unique role and how they were supposed to do something, like give you a nice twist, but it ended up turning to this generic, factor like you guys were saying. Well, one unit is superior to all other units.
Yeah.
I got an idea. Take boomers and probes and combine them into one unit. After the boomer blows up, it becomes a probe. It drops its load. The package blows up, and now it's a probe.
I kind of like that, but that's
And
insanely
so
off
boomers,
topic.
if you're using them against posts, then they could like neutralize the post, and then the probes capture it.
+1.
Probo P.
All right, guys. I think we've gone off enough of that. Let's just hope that whatever the improvement or change is going to be to Assassins, like James said, that it will, not only get rid of this problem, but put Assassins in the right role and, improve its actual usage in actual fights. All right, we'll move on to the next topic, the next viewer question, also from Blast of Bits, which is about maps. So unlike traditional MOBA style games, AirMech doesn't have just one map. Players can choose from 10 different maps as of now, with the promise of a map editor to come in the future for all AirMech Prime bundle owners. Current map design varies from big to small, linear to wide open. Each map has the potential to play out very differently from the next. Which maps tend to be more popular, and why? And which types of maps do you prefer to play on? Tipsy.
Well, everyone knows I'm a Veil guy. I was going to say right now, Veil's the best map. It's the most diverse. You have so many options. It's so open. It's flat. Stop laughing. It's a good map.
No, keep going. I agree.
Anyways, but
Power station terrain.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
that's bad.
trees, all right?
No,
lots
the
of
low
trees.
ground, the low ground on the power stations. But that's just one flaw out of. There's not that. That can be
Yeah, but
fixed.
it's not such a huge variation. It's going to change the whole tactic of the
right.
map. But people seem to like just linear-based maps. They seem to like Twin Peaks. They seem to like, for some reason, keeping maps like simple.
I mean,
They
it's
like
not
these linear
necessarily.
maps.
It's not really
I
for
think
some
as
reason.
soon
Go ahead.
With map voting introduced, I would love to see a statistic for how many people have played Nesthorn recently. Because I swear, I saw that map for the first time in weeks the other day. And it was just a flashback like I'm a Vietnam vet or something. It's just horrible.
It was bad.
But I think it's universally hate. I don't think anyone likes Nesthorn. No common person would vote for Nesthorn, and it is one of those very linear, progressive maps. But that has a lot in common with Duel and Dust.
Doxing.
And Salt, and so you have to wonder why are those more popular than Nesthorn? It's just the aesthetic.
Frisky, I got to ask you a question, Frisky. You've been playing for how long?
June 2012.
From what I heard of Nesthorn, the way it was played before compared to the way it's played now, people now will actually skip middle and build up armies across, like ferry them over from their close, and just cut off their opponents from the middle, from being able to push the middle, while also not having to deal with clearing the middle themselves if they so choose. Do you remember that being a tactic in the past?
Yeah, you know, it
Yeah,
wasn't.
but it wasn't as common.
Yeah, very
Yes, I mean,
definitely
because
less
there's-
common.
Yeah, because what happens is it can't changed over time. As mass commands started to come in, it started getting easier just to simply send them out and jump over.
Well, so here's the thing. With that tactic, that's fine and dandy, but usually that happens as an opener. You know, usually people don't build up to that. You know, they try to cut their opponents off at the pass. The longer a Nesthorn game goes, the more it will resemble past versions of Nesthorn play, if you know what I mean. Because once you have enough units to defend against each outpost, then it just becomes a fight for mid. You're not going to be able to leapfrog stuff over the gaps anymore.
And thus nuclear missile.
Great.
Kill
I also
everything!
said that the gameplay of Nesthorn also has changed over time, primarily with the balancing of artillery, where
True.
artillery had a period where, you know, it was really, really good, and every time you played Nesthorn, it was completely artillery-centric. And, you know,
I think that
the
actually...
addition of jammers and Sonyas, and the fact that Nesthorn is a very compact map, you have one jammer on either side of the chasm, and suddenly all the artillery are consistently missing. It's not these wide extenses of territory that need
Yep.
to be covered. So artillery is becoming less predominant, so people are trying to come up with new ways to turtle and win on the map without just massing RGs.
Yeah, the inability to fly by on Nesthorn is also a really huge problem with it, because you know, the fact that it's linear, it doesn't allow you to bypass anything to an extent, and if you wanted to, you'll be detected for the most part. So drops and all that stuff, it's just pathetically annoying to try.
That's very true.
Just imagine when we get the map editor, we can finally make maps in our own image. Like, I can finally get that pure flat map I've always wanted, a lot of maneuvering, it's how you're gonna win it.
Alright, addressing the specific prompt, I would say the popular maps are probably Duel #1, just because Duel is sort of AirMech 101 textbook type of play. That's how, you know, everyone kind of assumes AirMech should be played. Traditional, typical AirMech.
Not me.
Well, I'm not talking to you. So yeah, I would, you know, Duel #1. I would say probably. It depends on the person, I guess. It would probably, the next two ranked ones would be #1, Simple for the linear lovers. Yay. No one. No one. Or Twin Peaks. No. Okay. And Twin Peaks.
No.
Always, yeah. The linear, the people who loves. The people who love, you know, the linear, more linear style maps, actually really like Twin Peaks. But
I mean, each map is conducive to a particular kind of playstyle.
Yes.
I mean, if you're playing Dust or something like that, and you really have a lot of fun on Dust, you're probably kind of more of a meta-oriented player, and I feel like, you know, at least the three panelists you've chosen today tend to shy away from turtle creep.
listen, my panelist basis right now is just on who comes in Mumble most of the time, so I can have a reliable first episode. Damn
I'm
it!
not going to get a diverse opinion based on this particular prompt.
Okay, well, I've been liking Crater, and I've also been liking Sandrin because yes, what you just said.
Sandra makes
Are you
me
happy?
happy inside.
Yeah. We could talk about
I'm happy with
Salt.
Sandra.
We could talk about Salt, but then again, we wouldn't want to murder each other.
Oh god, I would kill myself on the spot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's.
But maybe we should talk about Salt.
Oh please, no, no.
Okay, the next topic is. I'm seriously moving on now. The next topic is actually about the newest matchmaking system. So, the latest and greatest matchmaking algorithm has finally been implemented, and as with any change, players are furious that things are different. Not only was custom lobby browsing removed, but also latency tolerance has gone down, resulting in a lot of players unable to find as many games as before. These new rules have also caused a pseudo-segmentation in the player base, with most players around the world only able to connect to nearby servers, virtually locking them into their regions. In rare, extreme cases, players with slower internet or in certain specific parts of the world cannot adequately connect to any servers, and thus cannot play AirMech at all. Cough, Kumi, cough. What, if any, noticeable impact has been made to the current population of the game, and how do you think they will tweak it further? Frisky.
I want custom lobbies back. Actually, one of the
Is
main
that
things
the
I
one
think
thing
we
that
do-
you drew? God damn it.
One up.
I think one of the things that would really help, and it's part of custom lobbies, which is why everyone keeps suggesting custom lobbies, is the ability to filter and choose what servers you are able to connect to. Being able to say, no, for the love of God, don't connect me to Singapore because I'm 3,500 miles away from Singapore. I'm never going to head out like a game there. And yet AirMech insists on repeatedly connecting me there because I had a ping under 400 or whatever the threshold was, but 400 ping sucks when you're in game.
Yeah.
But with
But-
the recent change, the very recent change, hasn't that changed?
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, I think what you're describing is about a few days ago at least, or a week ago, whenever the last patch was.
But either case, so matchmaking is a little bit different as far as locations that you can connect to. I myself have not really had any good experiences yet with it. That could just be a personal problem.
Yeah, and also I guess the comments from the Mumble chat are that logical server choices such as Lai lives in Singapore, doesn't connect to Singapore server. Doc can connect better to Japan than Illinois, even though he lives in Indiana. So it's a little crazy sometimes. I mean, obviously there's a lot of things that we don't understand as non-network engineers, but I mean, we don't really have to kind of realize what's sensible. And I know obviously they're working on it, and I don't want to criticize them too much about it, but things like this might, I don't know, it really detracts
It's
from
beta.
game experience. Yeah, that too. But we're all part of the community, and we all have to experience this. But either way, do you think maybe opening up the latency tolerances would be a little bit better, Insomniac?
Well,
Or
I
Tipsy?
mean,
Sure.
on one hand, I want a smooth game, and on the other hand, I want to get games quickly. Which do I choose? I mean, personally, I like to have a smooth game. AirMech has never been the most, let's say, not so laggy game I've ever played.
I just don't like the idea that, Carbon knows best which servers you should be on. I just like the ability to be able to choose for yourself and say, okay, these ones are good, but then you run into the problem of, new people come in, they have terrible internet connections, and they don't cancel out the servers that they have absolutely no choice or no hope of ever connecting to.
Actually,
I think you can still choose through. I thought you could still choose through custom lobbies, custom games. You can still
No.
choose your server.
No.
Actually, no,
That's
not anymore.
disabled now.
You know when you hit the Q button, when you hit the Q button, there was like this delay for some reason between that time you can hit ready. That's when it's picking your server.
All right, they're on the compatibility, whether or not you're compatible with the people you're inviting, and if you invite them and they're not compatible, then the invite doesn't go through or whatever, and so you're basically
Right.
region locked to people
Yeah.
who are compatible with your servers. But does that mean when you have a lobby, you're not actually on a specific server at that moment?
Yeah, you're not. You're just wherever,
Yeah.
and it
used
chooses
to
a
be
server
create
after.
lobby locked you to a server. Now lobbies are parties. They're kind of one and the same.
Yeah, I guess it's better in a sense that it'll choose the best server whenever it's full based on the people inside, versus you have to figure it out beforehand, which I guess was theoretically not as powerful. But I guess the problem is also the way that servers are determined. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, and it will take a lot of experimentation and tweaking to really get that down packed.
I think in the future they might allow for people to choose if they want to play laggy games because they want to play with someone specific. There might be a checkbox or a game mode or something customized that you could do it.
Yeah, actually, that's something that
sometimes I do want to play with.
That's something I suggested, actually. I did say that in a custom game, regardless of who's inside, they should just pick the best server, even if they're not theoretically compatible with you and the other people inside. But I guess that would also have to open up the ability to invite people if they don't have a common server with you. Bonjibon did suggest something in chat that was actually probably suggested several times on the forums, I think, which is sort of like the concept of a lag tolerance slider, which will allow you to choose how much lag you're willing to put up with. That would kind of require everyone in those, potentially participating in that game to also have the slider that high. So that's, and also people could argue that it's abusable, that you could set it so low that you're only going to be playing people that are so close by to you, so it'll eliminate a lot of competition. There's a lot of people that, there's arguments everywhere, guys.
Seeing as there's no elo that you can see anymore, it really doesn't matter if you're filtering out your competition or anymore. It's just shorting you the experience.
Alright, so Lai is apparently very upset with this because I'm assuming he can't play a lot of games now. Oh man. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the single viewer question that we've chosen, I guess. I have to actually make a new slide for this.
You've been creating slides as you've been going?
No, I had all these prepared, or most of them prepared. But anyway.
I'm no longer impressed.
Beep boop.
I was kind of impressed at your procrastination.
Alright guys, not that long of a prompt, but fixers are very cheap and have so many functions. Healing, disarming, and capturing. The recent addition of unit orders to fixers further builds upon their use. So, are they too good now? Oh, I accidentally... Yeah.
As a prominent user of fixers, I'm going to say, no, fixers are not overpowered because they are still infantry and they still die in half a second to any gun.
Nailed
Or
it.
swipe. Or even if you just look at them the wrong way, fixers will die. So I feel like despite all their uses, despite their utility, fixers still very easy to get rid of.
I mean, you just have to look up and even got the order change. What's the first thing people do? Slap them in bunkers, slap them in the outposts, just let them sit there and heal units and they don't die.
I guess for
But they still
turtling, it would be okay, but there's artillery, there's bombs, there's bombers. The world is
And there's
full of
been,
dangerous things.
There's been a lot of things add to the game that have area of effect damage, which is the natural counter to infantry.
Yeah.
Like, morties especially. Morties are really heavily used. Artillery is really heavily used. Bombers, mines, just bombs in general. Flamers. It all works to make figures less good, just because they're infantry.
Actually, you know what? The one thing that I think that really destroyed fixers is that when we converted over to like the time orderly based upgrades for creep, because even creeps would just walk by them and just kill them while they're trying to heal something.
You're saying creeps kill the fixers?
Yeah, I've never seen that. I don't know. I know when they get to like level 2 creeps, they would just walk by the tanks. Usually there'd be like 1 or 2 trying to block the road. They would just walk right by them and just kill the fixer on the way over.
Okay.
Still cool, bro.
It was annoying as damn.
Bonji has commented in Mumble Chat that he'd say with Mortys and Flamers overshadowing any other infantry, he forgot the word other, but any other infantry is not that great, which is its own topic by itself. I do have it listed in a possible future topic, but yeah, that is true. I guess fixers add a little bit of functionality, but using them, even with hold position and patrol available, I mean, I guess we'd have to wait for Tanji to see if he can break them, if you know what I mean.
Actually, patrolling fix might be cool if they still moved while they were fixing. Like,
That's
how
true.
whenever they target something with their heal beam, they immediately stop moving. So whenever fixers are actually doing their job, they get a lot more vulnerable. It would be interesting if you could set fixers on patrol and they just keep worming around while fixing things.
Actually, why not just move? Period. Because when you're attacking with tanks, you try to use to back them up. the fixers would stop trying to heal the tank, but the tank's still moving, so you get this, stop, heal, stop kind of thing.
Yeah, that actually would add a lot of things to fixers. I think we've just found a way to make fixers overpowered. Let's make them heal while moving.
All right. If someone review this footage, review this audio, and post all that on the forums. Thank you.
Is that your closure?
No, not really. Okay, hold on. What's Bonji saying?
That
Why
that was
healing
a
units
horrible
can't
closing, by the
move? Why healing units can't move while healing? Would that make them overpowered? I don't know. Here's the thing: if they moved while healing, and if they were healing a stationary unit, they would move away from it, and they would stop healing it because they would be out of its range, right?
It's also an interesting thing